There is a specific kind of fear that doesn't jump out from the shadows. It doesn't scream and it doesn't chase you. Instead, it walks calmly up your driveway. It stands under the pale glow of your porch light and it waits. Imagine it's 3 in the morning. The world outside is a dead blue silence. You're jolted awake by a knock on your door. 3 sharp, polite raps. You aren't expecting anyone. You tell yourself it's a neighbor in trouble or perhaps a relative with an emergency. You look through the peephole and your heart skips. Standing there are 2 children. They look small, cold, and vulnerable. They are dressed in clothes that look like they are pulled from a thrift store bin 20 years ago. They don't look up at first. One of them says in a voice far too steady for a child, "We're lost. Can we come in to use your phone?" Every instinct in your body, thousands of years of human evolution, suddenly screams a single word: run. You feel a wave of nausea, a primal terror that makes your knees weak, and then they look up. Their eyes aren't brown, blue, or green. They aren't even dilated. They are voids. Solid, oily, impenetrable, obsidian from lid to lid. No whites, no soul. Just an endless, bottomless black that seems to drink the light from your hallway. They don't force open the door. They don't break the glass. They just stand there, repeating the same rhythmic plea. You have to let us in. We can't come in unless you tell us it's okay. Let us in. Welcome back, or if you're new here, welcome to Hidden by Night. We cover all the things that live in the dark, so settle in, grab your snacks, and make sure that your flashlight's handy. Tonight, we're going to deep dive one of the most disturbing urban legends of the digital age. This isn't just a collection of ghost stories, it's a global phenomenon of encounters that defy logic, physics, and biology. From the very first report in a Texas parking lot to the terrifying accounts of those who actually open their doors, we uncover the lore, the theories, and the chilling reality of the black-eyed children. This case hits close to home, and you'll see why later on in the video. The phenomenon of the black-eyed children is a relatively modern addition to the world of the paranormal, yet it carries the weight of ancient folklore. These beings look like ordinary children, usually between the ages of 6 and 16, often wearing nondescript or slightly outdated clothing, hoodies, denim, or plain dresses. However, the moment they look up, the witness is struck by a physiological predator-prey response. Their eyes are not merely dark, they are solid black voids. No iris, no pupil, no sclera, just an oily obsidian surface that seems to swallow the light. This physical anomaly is accompanied by a crushing sense of dread that many witnesses describe as the most intense fear they have ever experienced in their lives. The legend truly began on a spring night in 1998 in Abilene, Texas. A journalist named Brian Bethel was sitting in his car under the glow of a movie theater marquee, writing a check. He was approached by 2 boys. Bethel initially felt a strange, irrational fear before they even spoke. The older of the 2 boys knocked on his window. He didn't use the slang or fidgety energy of a normal child. He spoke with a cold, adult-like cadence. He told Bethel they wanted to see the movie Mortal Kombat, but had forgotten their money at home. They asked for a ride. As Bethel hesitated, he felt a psychic pull, a compulsion to reach for the door lock. It was only when the boy's tone turned sharp and demanding, saying, "We can't come in unless you tell us it's okay," that Bethel noticed their eyes. They were pits of ink. Bethel shifted into reverse and fled, watching in his rearview mirror as the boys vanished instantly from the empty, well-lit lot. Thousands of similar reports have surfaced over the years, and they have all very eerily similar attributes. The most consistent and terrifying element is the requirement of invitation. Much like the vampires of European myth or hospitality laws of ancient Greece, these entities seemingly cannot cross a threshold, whether it be a front door or a car frame, without the express permission of the inhabitant. They are masters of psychological manipulation. They rarely lead with a threat. Instead, they use the hook. Another consistent across the board is a plea for help that preys on human empathy. I'm lost and my phone is dead. My mother's supposed to meet me here, but I'm cold. Can I just come in for a glass of water? If the witness refuses, then comes the mask slip. The child's demeanor shifts from innocent to predatory. Their voices may drop in pitch, becoming robotic or threatening. They will repeat the request with a terrifying rhythmic persistent. Let us in. We won't hurt you. Let us in. Witnesses who have survived these encounters report several recurring red flags, beyond just the eyes. Their speech often lacks emotional inflection. It sounds rehearsed, as if they're practicing how a human child should sound, but haven't quite mastered the nuances of tone. Their complexion is often described as plastic-like or matte. They lack the flush of blood or the imperfections of living skin. Some report a faint scent of ozone, rotting flowers, or wet sulfur emanating from the children. There are also numerous reports of watches stopping, car engines sputtering, or phone batteries draining instantly when the children approach. The rarest and most disturbing accounts come from those who claim they actually granted the invitation. In 2014, an account surfaced from a woman living in a rural area during a snowstorm. She let 2 children in out of a sense of misplaced maternal duty. She described a feeling of soul-deep cold entering her home with them. Her cats hid and hissed, a common theme in these stories. The children sat at her table, refusing food or drink, simply staring. After they eventually left, the woman's life descended into chaos. Her husband was later diagnosed with a fast-acting, inexplicable illness, and her house became infested with a black mold that defied all cleaning chemicals. This suggests that these children are not just visitors, but harbingers of decay or spiritual parasites. Like I said before, the eyewitness accounts keep pouring in. Testimony 1. The gas station incident. This comes from a man named Mark, who is 47, a long-haul truck driver. The location, rural gas station, Nevada, late night around 3 a.m. It is 2007. It was a long haul through Nevada, dead of night, just the hum of the road for hours. I pulled into a pretty isolated gas station, just a couple of pumps and a small, brightly lit convenience store. As I was fueling up my rig, I noticed 2 figures standing near the entrance of the store. They looked like kids, maybe 10 or 12. Just standing there, not moving. My first thought was, what are kids doing out here at this hour? I finished pumping, paid inside, and grabbed a coffee. As I came back out, they hadn't moved. They were looking directly at me now. One was a boy, the other a girl, both wearing dark plain hoodies. Even in the harsh fluorescent light, their faces seemed muted, flat. I felt a sudden, inexplicable shiver go down my spine, like someone had poured ice water on my back. The boy took a step forward. He didn't speak. He just held out a hand, palm up, and a gesture that silently asked for something. I looked at his hand, then back up at his face, and that's when I saw them, his eyes. No whites, no pupil, just 2 pools of pure reflective black. It was like I was looking into a deep, dark well that swallowed all the light surrounding it. My heart practically seized in my chest. My breath caught. I couldn't move. The fear wasn't like anything I'd ever felt before. Not like a jump scare fear, but a cold, heavy dread that drained all warmth from my body. It screamed at me. Danger. I tried to say something, anything, but my throat felt like it was coated in sand. The girl then took a step forward, mirroring the boy's gesture. Her eyes were identical. A complete, terrifying void. They didn't blink. They just held my gaze, their expressions utterly neutral, yet radiating an unspoken demand. My truck's engine was still running, a low rumble cutting through the silence. I somehow managed to force my legs to move. I stumbled backwards, fumbling for my door handle. When I jumped inside, I locked the door with a frantic click and threw the rig into drive. I didn't even look in my mirrors. I just sped out of that gas station, leaving them standing there in the harsh light, still and silent. I drove for another 2 hours without stopping, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles were white. The image of those eyes burned into my mind. I still get shivers thinking about it. They didn't need to speak. Their presence, their eyes, and that silent request were more terrifying than any scream or threat could have been. Testimony 2. The apartment hallway. This witness is Sarah, 32, marketing professional. Location: apartment complex hallway in Chicago, late evening, around 10:30 p.m. It is 2012. I was home alone, living in a relatively new apartment complex in Chicago. It was a Tuesday night, pretty quiet. I was just winding down when I heard a soft knock on my door. It wasn't loud, almost polite, but distinct. I wasn't expecting anyone. I looked at the peephole, and there were 2 kids, a boy and a girl, maybe 8 and 10. They were facing away from my door, so I couldn't see their faces. They were dressed in what looked like slightly oversized plain gray hoodies and dark pants. They seemed oddly still for children. I hesitated. I usually don't answer the door if I'm not expecting anyone, especially late. The knock came again, a little louder this time, but still polite. I felt a weird prickle of unease, a strange feeling in my stomach. Against my better judgment, I unlocked the deadbolt, opening the door just a crack, keeping the chain on. "Can I help you?" I asked, my voice a little more tentative than I liked. The boy looked up first. His face was pale, almost translucent, under the hallway light, and his eyes. They were just 2 solid bottomless pits. I felt a sudden, cold jolt that went through my entire body. My heart pounded so hard I thought it would burst out of my chest. It was an instant, overwhelming terror. He spoke, his voice calm, flat, and devoid of any childlike inflection. "We're looking for our mother. She lives on the 3rd floor. We think we're lost. Can we come in and use your phone?" My brain screamed, no. Every fiber of my being recoiled, but there was also a bizarre, insistent urge, almost like a command trying to force me to say yes. The girl then looked up, her eyes identical, just staring into mine through the crack in the door. She didn't speak, but her gaze was a physical weight. I can't," I stammered, my voice trembling. "I don't have a phone you can use. I'm sorry." The boy's expression remained perfectly neutral, but his voice became subtly firmer. "It will just be for a moment. We're very cold." It was a lie. They didn't look cold. They didn't shiver. They didn't show any sign of discomfort. I felt a surge of strength then, a raw instinct for self-preservation. I slammed the door shut, fumbling with the deadbolt and locking it tight. My hands shaking. I leaned against the door, breathing heavily, my eyes squeezed shut. For about 5 minutes I heard soft, persistent knocking on my door. Sometimes a single light tap, sometimes a series of 3. It took a while to stop. Until I was convinced they were gone, I didn't open the peephole again. I spent the rest of the night curled up on my couch, convinced they were still out there, just waiting. I moved out of that apartment 3 months later. Testimony 3. The car window. The witness's name is David, 26, a college student. Location: Rural Road, Georgia. Early morning, around 1 a.m. It is 2017. I was driving home from a late-night study session at a friend's place. It was a long stretch of highway, mostly dark, with thick woods on either side. I was probably going about 60 miles per hour when I saw them. 2 figures on the side of the road, standing perfectly still, facing the oncoming traffic. 2 kids. My first thought was, what the hell? It is 1 a.m. No houses for miles. I slowed down, feeling that familiar unsettling pit in my stomach that you get when something is just wrong. As I got closer, I could see they were a boy and a girl, maybe 14 or 15, dressed in dark clothes, kind of old-fashioned denim jackets. I stopped about 20 feet ahead of them, unsure what to do. They didn't wave or make any frantic gestures. They just started walking towards my car, slowly, deliberately. I felt a surge of adrenaline, but also an overwhelming sense of guilt. These were kids, stranded. I had to help them, right? They reached my passenger side window. The boy leaned down, his face level with mine. His skin was incredibly pale. He spoke, his voice calm and clear. "Sir, our car broke down a few miles back. Our parents are waiting for us further up the road. Could you give us a ride to the next town?" As he spoke, he looked directly into my eyes, and that's when I saw it. His eyes were solid. There was no white, no pupil, just an abyss. My blood ran cold. The dread hit me like a physical blow, so intense I felt dizzy. My mind screamed, drive, drive now, but my body felt paralyzed. The girl then looked at me, her face equally pale, her black eyes mirroring the boy's. She didn't say anything, but her gaze held an unsettling intensity, like she was trying to reach inside my head. I can't, I managed to croak out, my voice barely a whisper. I'm not going that way. It was a pathetic lie. The boy's calm expression never wavered, but his voice became sharper. It would be very helpful if you could. We're quite a long ways from home. His voice was still flat, but now it held a chilling edge of command. I felt a sudden, overwhelming urge to just let them in, to open the door, to just make the feeling of dread stop. But something deep inside me, a pure animal instinct, fought against it. I forced my foot down on the accelerator. The tires squealed as I sped away, heart hammering against my ribs. I glanced in my rearview mirror. They were gone. Just gone. No sign of them on the deserted road. I drove straight home. Didn't stop. Didn't sleep that night. Every shadow, every sound felt like they were still there, just out of sight. I never picked up a hitchhiker again. Testimony 4. The Cabin in the Woods. The witness's name is Jeremy, 55, a retired forester. The location? Isolated cabin, Oregon wilderness. It is 2003. I'd retired to a small cabin deep in the Oregon woods. I loved the solitude. This particular winter, we had fierce blizzard roll in. Snow was piled high, and the power had been out for a couple of days. I was just reading by the light of the lantern when I heard a faint knocking. It wasn't a hard knock, more like a gentle tap, tap, tap against the front door. I thought it was the wind, but it was too rhythmic. I grabbed my flashlight and went to the door, feeling that strange uneasiness you get when something's just not quite right. I looked through the peephole. 2 kids, a boy and a girl, stood on my porch. They looked soaked to the bone, covered in snow. They were maybe 12 and 14. They were wearing dark, old-fashioned coats, not really suitable for this kind of weather. My first thought was, oh my God, they're freezing. I almost unlatched the door immediately, but then something stopped me. They weren't shivering, not one bit. Despite being covered in snow, they seemed unaffected. I opened the door just a crack, keeping the chain on. Can I help you two? I asked, concern in my voice. The boy looked up. His face was gray, and his eyes, they were pure, unblinking black. The dread hit me instantly, an icy wave that washed away all compassion. My mind screamed danger, extreme danger. He spoke, his voice calm and clear, utterly devoid of fear. Sir, our parents are lost in the storm. We're very cold. We need to come in to warm up. The girl beside him remained silent, but her black eyes were fixed on mine, her expression utterly blank. I couldn't tear my gaze away. There was a powerful, almost hypnotic pull to their request, a deep-seated urge to just unlatch the chain and let them in, but my gut screamed louder. I'm sorry, I said, my voice shaking despite myself. You need to go. The boy's face remained impassive, but his voice became subtly more demanding. We'll just be in for a little while. We're freezing out here. They showed no sign of being cold. I forced myself to slam the door shut, fumbling with the deadbolt, my hands trembling violently. I stood with my back against the door, panting. For the next hour, I heard soft taps on my windows, moving from one side of the cabin to the other. Each tap was gentle, but utterly insistent, like fingers lightly pressing against the glass. I spent the night huddled with my rifle, watching the windows. The tapping eventually stopped as the blizzard worsened, burying the cabin deeper in snow. I never saw them again, but I will never forget those eyes, or the chilling uncertainty of what they would have done if I hadn't fought back that awful compulsion to let them in. Testimony 5. The grocery store. The witness name is Brenda, 61, a retired teacher. The location? A parking lot in suburban California. It is afternoon, around 4 p.m. It is 2019. I was just leaving the grocery store, putting my bags in the trunk when I noticed them. 2 young girls, maybe 7 and 9 years old, standing next to the car parked beside mine. They were dressed in plain, slightly ill-fitting dresses that looked like they belonged in a different era. My first thought was, where are their parents? They looked so lost and alone. As I closed my trunk, the older girl turned her head slowly and looked at me. Instantly, I noticed her face was very pale. Her hair was dark and stringy, and her eyes, my breath caught in my throat. They were solid black. Just two perfect circles of jet black. A wave of intense, nauseating fear washed over me. It wasn't the kind of fear you get from a mugger. It was a deep terror. My heart started pounding and my hands, which were just putting my purse in the car, started to tremble uncontrollably. The younger girl then slowly turned, her eyes identical. They both just stared at me. They didn't speak, they didn't move, they just stared, their expressions utterly blank, yet the intensity of their gaze felt like a physical weight pressing down on me. It was a silent appeal, but a terrifying one. I felt an overwhelming urge to help them, an almost hypnotic pull, but it was immediately overridden by an equally powerful, desperate instinct to flee. My mind screamed at me, "Get in the car, drive away, do not look at them." I fumbled with my car door, my hands shaking so badly I dropped my keys. I had to bend down to pick them up, forcing myself not to look at them, but I could still feel their black eyes burrowing into me. I scrambled into my driver's seat, locked the doors with a frantic click, and started the engine. As I put the car in reverse, I risked one quick glance in my side mirror. They were still standing there, perfectly still, watching me. Their faces were expressionless, yet I felt a chill that went straight to my bones. I sped out of that parking lot, not even looking back again. It was broad daylight, in a busy parking lot, surrounded by other shoppers, yet those two girls and their eyes were the most terrifying thing I have ever encountered. I still get panic attacks in parking lots sometimes, always checking my rearview mirror before I pull away. This deep dive is one that hits close to home because I too have encountered one of these black-eyed beings. The year was, I'd say, 2016, and me and my husband had gone up into the foothills just above our town to go camping for the night. We ended up setting up in my little car, and for some reason, we just couldn't shake this feeling of like dread, like something was watching us. It got to the point where even though we camp a lot and we're out in the wilderness so often, like not much scares us out there anymore, it terrified us. Like we ended up packing up in the middle of the night and saying, no, we're sorry. We're not staying. On our way home, there was this car. It was like a white SUV that had pulled over to the side of the road, just sitting there. And my husband is the type of person that will pull over and make sure someone's okay. Like, that's just the type of man he is. So instinctively, we pull over, we roll down our window, and my husband looks over and to ask this guy if he's okay. And I will never, ever forget those eyes. Like, when they say that you don't forget the eyes, they're as dark can be. They're very much bottomless. And I remember this guy, he had his hands on his steering wheel like this. And we pull up in the car next to him. And he looks over at us just like so emotionless, just like this. And is just staring. Like, not answering the question, not any sign of anything. It's blank, it's emotionless. And his face was very pale. And this guy wasn't even a kid, which is like a one-off. I know a lot of times they are kids, but he was an adult and he was so gray. Like his face was so gray and his eyes were so black. And I just remember like locking the doors and just telling my husband like to drive, like get away. And we sped off and I just remember feeling this immense, terrifying fear that we are being followed, we are being watched. I actually made my husband pull over so that I could check my back seats of the car just to see if for some reason someone slipped in. Like that is how it felt. Like the hair on the back of your neck just standing on end. And to this day, I will never forget the look in that man's eyes. Like it was soulless. I don't know how to explain it, but whatever it was like pure evil. If these entities are real, what are they? There are 4 primary schools of thought. The demonic theory. This is the most traditional explanation. The black guys represent a glitch in demonic disguise. By appearing as children, or a man in my case, they exploit the one defense humans have, our instinct to protect the young. And in our case, we were just pulling over to see if a guy needed help. Like, I feel like in multiple instances, they're preying on your instinct to want to help. They seek an invitation not just into your house, but into your life. There's also the extraterrestrial hypothesis. Some UFO researchers believe that the black-eyed children are human-alien hybrids, biological drones sent by gray aliens to observe human domestic behavior, which would explain their awkward social skills and the lenses, which are the black eyes. They could be signs of non-terrestrial biology trying to pass for human. There's also the interdimensional theory. This suggests that the black-eyed children are not from our world or any other planet, but from a parallel dimension altogether. Their presence causes a vibrational mismatch, which explains the intense nauseating dread witnesses feel. They are glitches in the fabric of our reality. There's also the thought form theory. This is a psychological explanation. A tulpa is a being created solely through collective belief. Because the internet shared the Brian Bethel story so widely, millions of people began to fear the concept. This theory suggests that our collective fear actually manifested these beings into a semi-physical existence. The only reason why this one is hard for me to believe is the fact that I had no idea what these things were prior to our experience. Zero idea. I'm very into this kind of thing. Grew up ghost hunting. I would love to continue to ghost hunt, so look out for future videos of that because I will be ghost hunting with my crew that I have. And I had never heard of them before. This was my first time. And then I looked into it, and then I saw all these things. It's still an explanation, but not one that I primarily believe in, per se. There's a lot of global variations. While black-eyed kids is a modern Western term, the concept of the soulless child appears in older folklore. In Eastern Europe, legends tell of the Morai, undead children who return to visit their families. In Japan, the Noparabo, or faceless ghosts, often take the form of children to lure travelers into a state of shock. The black-eyed children may simply be the 21st century mask of a much older, predatory force that has lived alongside humanity for millennia. How to survive an encounter if you find yourself facing these entities. The advice from researchers and witnesses is unanimous. Do not engage in long conversation. They use speech as a tool for hypnotic manipulation. Do not look directly into the eyes for more than a second or two. If you see and notice those black eyes, look away. State a firm refusal. Do not make excuses. Simply say, "You are not welcome. Leave now." Trust the dread. That feeling of nausea in your body's ancient warning system telling you what you are looking at is not a child. It's not a human being. It's something else entirely, something far darker. The black-eyed children remind us that the most terrifying monsters aren't the ones that break down our doors, but the ones that stand politely on the porch and wait for us to let them in. Or the ones you happen to encounter in a grocery store parking lot or driving down the road on the way home. Whether they are aliens, demons, or a trick of the collective mind, they represent the ultimate uncanny valley, the familiar made foreign, and the innocent made lethal. But the conversation has just began. The mystery can also be yours to solve. What do you think the black-eyed children are? Leave your thoughts, theories, and lore in the comments below. Or drop a comment if there's a case, cryptid, or unexplained phenomena that keeps you up at night, and it might just be featured in our next deep dive. I love hearing your guys' stories. Seriously, drop them in the comments. If you haven't already, make sure to like the video, subscribe if you enjoy the dark, the scary, and the unexplained. Hit that bell icon so you never miss a new video. Videos get dropped 2 to 3 times per week right now. Thank you for venturing into the dark with me. The world is full of things we cannot explain, but together we can keep looking for the answers. Until next time, my fellow spooky lovers, and remember, the truth is often hidden by night. Bye.